Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into this. So week two's in the books. We had some exciting matchups, some exciting, thrilling games. Let's get into some. We'll start with the Detroit Lions Seattle Seahawks game. What a game that was in Detroit. Who thought that Seattle was going to come back and win that game? They looked like they couldn't get out of their own way against the LA Rams, who looked okay against the 49ers. But then the Detroit Lions, who were riding high off the Kansas City victory, you thought, oh man, Lions are going to go 2-0. They didn't. This is why you play the games. Seattle came back, saved their season, bounced back in a big, big way. Commanders versus Denver. Who thought the Commanders would be 2-0? After that game, you thought it was going to be a two-way tie for third place in the NFC, but that's why they have a never say die attitude. Riverboat Ron and that team, they overcame some deficiencies. They had their defense play well. I know they gave up 35 points, but Russell Wilson is not a bad quarterback, and that Denver team's got a lot of weapons working for them, and they had a lead and they blew it. They'll learn from those mistakes as they go forward, but the Commanders are 2-0. Who'd have thought that? The Atlanta Falcons are 2-0 after a 1-point victory over the Green Bay Packers. They fought hard. This team is trying to contend. Again, a lot of these teams are trying to bounce back and get into the playoff picture and stay relevant. And Tampa Bay also won their game. So now there's a two-way tie for first place in the NFC South. It's going to be interesting to watch these teams unfold going forward. Those are just a couple of the games that we're talking about. There was others on the docket. The Cowboys are who we thought they are. Defensively, shut the Jets down. Absolutely shut them down. Not as bad as they beat the Giants, but, they still shut another New York down. Cowboys are 2-0, looking pretty primed and ready to have a big, big year. I know we don't want to talk about that, but, it's the truth right now. Minnesota went 0-2. The Eagles are 2-0. They're still riding high. Minnesota had a chance to come back in that game. They did not. Turnovers, penalties, keys to losing football games, and also keeping teams in games. But let's talk about the furious comeback that the Giants had. Giants beat the Arizona Cardinals 31-28 in a thrilling game where Daniel Jones had a good game. That's right. Daniel Jones had a good game. I praise him for his game. Now, am I overly impressed with the game? No. It's the Arizona Cardinals. We never should have been in this position in the first place. The Giants' defense is absolutely atrocious. They've given up 28 points to a team that basically didn't do anything. They're not that great of a team. They're not looking to win anything. They're just trying to get through this season, get their first-round pick. Remember, they got two now. They got the Texans' first-round pick and their own. So they're going to be loading up next year. So I don't expect them to do anything but what they did. But got to give credit to the Giants and coming back. Got to credit to the offense and doing what they need to do. Got to give credit to DJ for doing what he did. See, I gave credit to him. Now let's get into the things that we need to work on. One, if this team was the 49ers and you go down 27-7, you're probably good night the lights. Because we couldn't come back against a Philadelphia team with a good defense. We probably wouldn't have done that against the Cowboys with a good defense. And we probably aren't going to do that in week 3 against the 49ers with a good defense. The Giants got to come out and start. You can't rely on this. This is what the Giants did last year. They got the ball in the second half, which is what they love to do. They make their adjustments. They clearly made their adjustments. They unleashed the beast that was Jalen Hyatt. He ran down the field after Daniel Jones was a Jekyll and Hyde performance. He looked putrid in the first half and came to life in the second half. Again, while I'm happy about the victory, I expected them to win, and I'm not jumping on anybody's bandwagon. Go out, Daniel, and do it against the 49ers, because if you do it against the 49ers, a winning football team, 2-0, they just beat the LA Rams. I know the game looked closer than it was, but they won 30-23. You think you're going to do that against the 49ers, you got another thing coming. You got to be able to put points on the board early. You can't just hope that you're going to have these furious comebacks. And by the way, you're not always playing the Arizona Cardinals in week 2. So while I like the victory, and I appreciate what he did, I'm not going to anoint him as a top 10 guy, because I told you, I said this exactly what happened. I said what would happen. I said he'd have a bad game against the Cowboys and he'd light it up against the Cardinals. Well, guess what? After 2 games, lit it up against the Cowboys. Had a bad game against the Cowboys, lit it up against the Cardinals. Let's see if he can do this against the defenses that really matter. We're not going to be playing the Cardinals in late December and October, late December and January. We're not going to be playing those teams. Those teams don't exist. They'll be falling off. Those teams got a railroad and bye-bye. So they won the game. They got out of it. They saved their season. Don't know what the status of Barkley is. They say speculation is there's a sprained ankle. Hopefully it's not a high ankle sprain. Hopefully he's not out for too many games. I doubt he plays Thursday, which is going to be a big blow to the Giants offense, because now if you're coming in and all you have to do is defend Daniel Jones and Darren Waller and the suspect offensive line, who did an okay job. Again, there's not really that many horses on the Arizona Cardinals. Again, you play a team, you got to beat the teams that are on your schedule, so I'm not going to take too much away from that, but we got to call a spade a spade. You know, this team needs to beat the better teams in the conference, not the worst teams in the conference. And you can't get behind like you did. They need a better effort going forward on Thursday. If they come out flat like they did in the first half, good night the lights. 49ers going to crush them. You don't want that to happen. You want to see a solid performance. You want to see a good game. But hey, the Giants saved their season. Let's see if they can carry that momentum into next week. But this has been another edition of The Hurry Up. If you want more in-depth detail, look for me on the NFC East Roundup with Mac the Giant Fan at 5:30 on Wednesdays. We go over everything NFC East. And then on Friday nights, late night evening, have a drink, sip some cognac with us on Premium Takes Friday night. We go over, we preview all the games. We go over some of the key matchups from week 2 and dive in depth into the NFL season and week 3 as their matchups. Can't believe we're going into week 3 already. It feels like the season just started and we're going to almost be a quarter of the way through in a few weeks. So crazy how fast it goes. Get on board because it's going to be a wild ride. Week 2, if week 2 showed us anything, it's going to be crazy. I hope week 3 is just as crazy as week 2. Hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you soon.